everyone. Midori here from Ecamm Network, makers of Ecamm Live. For those of you who are new to Ecamm, Ecamm Live is an all-in-one live streaming platform for Mac users. We have a 14-day trial version available on our website at ecamm.com. That's ecamm.com, and we encourage you to check it out and explore all its awesome features. Meet the Pros is our weekly interview series where we interview Ecamm users to learn more about our community members and how they're using streaming to build their own communities, whether it's for a business, a charitable organization, a church community, or just for fun. If you've been using Ecamm Live for a while and would like to be interviewed for our series, please reach out to us. We're pretty easy to find. Send us an email, send us a message, contact us on Facebook. We're really reachable. So we're incredibly excited to be interviewing Steve Dotto today of Dotto Tech. Steve is a tech geek, a business owner, an entrepreneur. His business, Dotto Tech, helps anyone and everyone learn how to use tech better. We can't wait to ask him all about how he uses Ecamm Live, his favorite features, and his studio setup, and so much more. So without further ado, let's get started and talk to Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hey, how you doing? I'm just setting this up on the iPad so that I can try and follow the questions, but it's not working the way I wanted to. But let's see if it works now here. Okay, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastically.
Wonderful. It's so great to be talking to you.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm such a big fan of this platform but I'm a little intimidated because so many people use it so much more effectively than I am. I'm not sure I'm worthy.
Oh, you're totally worthy. Yeah, if you're a user and you're interesting and you like to have fun and talk to us, you're definitely worthy. And we want to hear about you too and what you do. I mean, that's the biggest reason why we have this series is because we like to, since we started this series, learning about how our users, use our software, but also like what they do, because it's such a wide variety from like comedians to entrepreneurs, people who work with the military. I mean, we have a wide variety. So speaking of which, why don't you tell us all about what you do?
Well, Dotto Tech, I started in the business back a long time ago, I think long before most of you were even born, as I did TV shows in Canada on technology for the better part of 20 years. And in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, we switched over to starting to publish on YouTube. So I published still the same kind of content as I've always done, kind of how-to content on YouTube. And we built a fairly good channel, but I recognize that the business model is completely different than we had in television. So I've been on a kind of a learning journey about social marketing and social media and online marketing, and we've been building up in that space. So I've just been on this real voyage of discovery of becoming I guess they call us now influencers. I'm not sure that is that a dirty word now already? Has it become a dirty word? It's not. Certainly the luster is off the term influencer to a certain extent. But
yeah.
But I've really enjoyed it. And on the channel now, we teach two things for the most part. We teach the productivity and how-to technology stuff that I've always done. But in keeping with kind of my own journey of discovery, we do an awful lot of content creation tools. We talk about tools like Ecamm or other tools, other ways for creators to make content more effectively. And so I teach people how to do webinars, how to do screencasting, that kind of content. So there's the kind of the two sides of the business.
Okay, awesome. So we already have some comments here that I wanted to mention. So let's see. We have a lot of people saying hello to you. So Bill Vick.
Good.
I watch each and every video Steve has done over the past few years. Truly my productivity guru.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's very good.
I hope he gets a lot done.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm probably pronouncing this incorrectly, but Lene, I think.
Okay.
Love you, Steve. I'm a subscriber with a little heart. And then Eric says, I need to subscribe to you, Steve. And you definitely do, Eric. So definitely get on that. So wonderful. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how and when you discovered Ecamm Live?
So Ecamm, when did I discover it first? I can't remember. I probably discovered it as, I got excited about the whole idea of live streaming. I didn't like the Periscope stuff all that much, and I never got excited at that point. But do you remember a product called Blab?
I don't.
You don't. Okay, many people will.
Sorry.
It might fire up the comments. People might comment
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
So Blab, it was a live streaming platform that was a social network of its own,
Okay.
and it allowed you to have kind of four quadrants of video and to bring people on, and for the person who was hosting the live stream to be able to invite guests on and kick guests off, and then there was an accompanying chat, and it created a really nice environment where you could do shows, where you could deliver shows in a live stream format. And it was the people who created it took it in the wrong direction as far as monetizing and et cetera. And sadly, it has left us. It's now no more. But I really got excited about the potential of live streaming then, because what I saw there was so similar to what we'd done in television for so many years and what I'd done on radio live. But when you do a live TV or a live radio show, your costs are exorbitant as far as
Right.
as far as being able to deliver content into that platform. To be able to deliver it in the same space, just from your computer and a simple piece of software and some sort of network was to me mind blowing. And so I started to do a lot more webinars as a result of that. And get a lot more interested in what was happening in that space. But of course, webinars is kind of a closed ecosystem. And so it was the demise of Blab that kind of got me looking at other ways of doing things and delivering more webinars and looking for more live streaming options. Now, I don't live stream as much as you might think that somebody in my place would, because finding the right product to live stream was a real journey of discovery. It was not easy for me to figure out what I wanted to do on a live stream. I could figure out very quickly what I wanted to do on a webinar, because webinars are all about list building, the fact that you get people signing up for your email list, et cetera. I find tremendous long-term business value in that. But I always felt that when you were doing live streaming, you were doing a lot of work for sometimes very little gain if you couldn't find a way to convert people into your community in some way. Like on YouTube, getting people to subscribe. If you're doing a webinar, getting people on your mail list. So you're delivering this content, and unless you have a business mechanism at the back end of it, I just considered it to be a real challenge business-wise to invest too much in it, even though the potential and the cool factor was off the charts. So I'm kind of taking a long time to get to your answer, but as I was evaluating different products at that point, I certainly looked at things like Wirecast, and I appreciated Wirecast coming from a broadcast TV background, and I certainly recognized the value of it as a switching tool and stuff, but it's just difficult to use. But when I first used Ecamm, I was a convert instantly, as so many people on here already are. It was just such an effortless tool to use, so flexible and so reliable that I quickly became a convert.
Awesome. We like to hear that. So, talk to us a little bit then, like, so you don't do a ton of live streaming yourself, but a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Um, do
I do a
you
lot of webinars. I do a weekly webinar
webinars? Yeah.
series called Webinar Wednesday,
Okay.
which is really a list builder and a community builder for me.
Right.
And we're starting, and actually, after all this time, I've had my eye on doing live streams for a long time. We're actually launching a weekly live stream in September, which we're calling
Okay.
our product. Yeah. So what it is it's on my YouTube channel. Typically speaking, I am not very salesy. I don't do a lot
Mm,
of sales type content. I do a lot of educational content. And
right.
while you can make money off that, it's not always the easiest path to revenue. And I wanted to have a much more revenue centric product. And I knew, and it was actually it was actually when I was at Social Media Marketing World last year, which the guys from Ecamm, Glenn and Ken, were there. They had
Yeah,
their
I was
booth
there
going.
too. You might
Well,
not
yeah,
have
you were
seen
there
me,
too.
but I
That's
was there
right.
too. Yeah.
And as I walked around that showcase, the entire showcase, watching different
Yeah.
social media marketers interacting with the vendors, I realized that people really wanted access to not just the content of somebody teaching them about the product, but they wanted to get to know the people behind the
Mm-hmm.
products. And there
Yeah.
was great energy from people actually meeting and knowing that a product was created by a real person that they could talk to and had a value system, and that there was a connection. And I thought, what a great idea to see if we can use our channel to kind of create more of that. So I created the product showcase, which is the kind of the subtitle is discover great products and meet the people behind them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what we are doing is we're doing a weekly live stream where I do an interview with the principal from the company beforehand, and I edit that down along with a
Okay.
demo into about a 10 or 15 minute video. I pre-record that and edit that all. We go live with the live stream on a weekly basis, bring the community in. I stream that B-roll in, the video in, because I want people to get a real good feel for the product itself. But while that's happening, the team, the company itself, is with us in chat. They're live with us. And then once the pre-record ends, whoever the spokesperson is for the company, and usually it's one of the principals, is there live with us answering questions from the community. And of course, there'll always be a special offer because there's a sales aspect. But having the opportunity to, be on chat with their support team or with the principals and having questions answered and getting to know the people behind the product. It's so important to know kind of strategically where products come from and understand where it's going as you're making a decision to invest in these tools, because the cost of using these tools is almost inconsequential when you consider what they can do for us. And so understanding, how the tool is going to fit in your own workflow is really, really important. And so the more you can understand about the company and the direction they're going, the better that you can strategically put them in. So I'm really excited about this. We've done a few tests of the product showcase. We did one a couple of weeks ago with the people from Focus at Will, the audio product that helps you to focus on productivity. It kind of closes around the world around you. It's music that helps you focus. And we had Will Henschel, who was the founder of it, and a former rock and roll star. I guess he's still a rock and roll star. You're not never former, are you? And
never
we
really
had him
former.
on, and it was everything that I wanted. The community got to know them. We did very well as far as the number of people that registered and signed up. So from a business perspective, it was very successful, and from a community perspective, it was successful as well. So we're launching that, and it's not going to be on Facebook. It's a YouTube. It'll be a YouTube live product. But that's starting in September, and I'm very, very excited. We've got our first people are all queued up and in the queue ready to go, and I'm just recording the interviews now, and it's I'm very excited about it.
That's really cool. And for anyone who is not familiar with Ecamm Live, that is even something that sort of format that we're talking about here, where you sort of play a pre-recorded, edited video. That's all very, very easy with Ecamm Live. You can actually, even if you wanted to do a Skype interview that you pre-record, you can do that with Ecamm Live. Then you can edit the video, and then you can actually, just like I played an intro video at the beginning, you can get that all queued up so that once you're ready to play that video, you can just play it right in Ecamm Live.
Now, one of the tips that Ken and Glenn helped me figure out on that was when I first streamed it, I wasn't happy with the quality of streaming. I didn't feel it was great. Now I've got really good bandwidth, and some other products will allow you to upload and stream, say, from YouTube itself or from another video host. And I was encouraging the guys to put that into the software. But when I pulled back the resolution of the video to 720 by 720 to high def, not to just 720p resolution.
Yeah, 720p.
It streamed perfectly from the desktop, and I had absolutely no issues. When you go higher resolution, you might end up with a little bit of a bottleneck in the upload.
Okay, yeah, that's really good advice. And Facebook, if you're on Facebook, only uploads 720p anyway. So as far as the stream goes, what people are getting, they're getting, on their whatever device, that they're going to be really happy with it. I mean, you don't necessarily, for talking heads, you don't necessarily need ultra high definition. No, you definitely don't.
No.
Yeah, just need to see our lovely faces. Cool. So one thing that some of our users run into when getting started with live streaming is just sort of like the nerves of being live and like how to be comfortable in front of camera. And I know that you've been doing media for a really long time, so you might have to think kind of far back to think about how you what tools you use to kind of get over that kind of stuff. But maybe you have some tips and tricks. So that is kind of a hurdle for a lot of people.
Here's what I tell people, and I've actually talked about this a fair amount, and I've thought about it a lot as well. And here's human nature, and it's overcoming human nature. If you are the sort who gets a little bit anxious or concerned or embarrassed, and typically speaking, what happens then is you end up trying to be so polished that you end up losing. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that you end up being very stilted on air, and it shows. Here's the thing: when you're watching, most people are afraid of making a mistake or being laughed at, right? But if you're watching somebody else, what attitude do you have as a viewer watching somebody else? You got to put yourself in your viewer's shoes. I don't typically tune into a live stream. Nobody's here tuning into us to make fun of us well, maybe the odd person is, but
Maybe.
screw them. But
Right.
nobody's hoping we make mistakes. And if we make a mistake, it only bothers anybody out there if it bothers us. By and large, if I get all upset and verklempt because I made a mistake, everybody out there feels awkward and but it's empathetic. It isn't judgmental. They're being empathetic with me. So if I make a mistake and it doesn't bother me, it won't bother anybody out there. And so we don't give ourselves the same grace as we give others. So we are far more critical of our own personal appearance, our own personal performance, etc., than we are of anybody else's. And if you can get yourself in the headspace where you recognize that the people are more on your side than not, and that they aren't judging you, but they're being empathetic. See, here I am screwing up, and I don't even care. And neither
Yeah,
do you.
exactly.
Neither
Yeah,
does
no,
anybody out there that
no.
Steve can't get the word. They don't think Steve's an idiot. They just think Steve can't get that word.
Yeah.
Give me time. I might prove that I'm an idiot, but nobody is judging us that way. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, completely. And I
Yeah.
think that another, thing to remember too is especially when you're getting started, like you're going to have really, really small audiences and they're probably going to be people you know pretty well. So I actually think that the earlier you get started with just going live to your small community, the better you are going to be. Like when we first started this Meet the Pros series, like I'd be lucky if I had 4 people watching live.
Wow.
And now we have 24 people currently watching live, which is awesome. And sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less. So, and I had that same experience and I, totally agree with what you said. Like you have to just, sometimes I make mistakes and sometimes like, a perfect example is I set up this scene and I put our logo on both corners. um, so people might laugh at that, or maybe they didn't even notice, but um, we have our logo twice, 2 corners. So there I am making mistakes, but now I just laugh at myself and think, oh, that wasn't should have taken a closer look at that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You kind of got to roll with it as you go along. Now,
yeah,
yeah. So if you are, and it is a difficult thing to get past, but once you do get past it, it allows you to be you. People don't want polished professional video anymore. This is very intimate, this type of video.
yeah,
And so, the corporate video of a talking head that's saying everything perfectly is so damn boring and nobody's interested anymore.
yeah,
Social media and social networking is made, the social part is what's important. It's not called professional media. It's not called polished media. It's social media.
yeah.
And social's gritty and dirty and, in some good and some not so good. So recognize that.
Yeah, and I think it just makes you, especially when you're trying to build a community, or like you said, as business owners, or like Ken and Glenn as business owners, they want to come across as like really approachable and really easygoing, and because that's how they are. They're just like they're two dads who are brothers who have a business, and who are just they're really smart, good guys, but they're also
Yeah.
just like goofy, and we're not perfect, and we're also like I've been working for Ecamm for 13 years, and I'm not a
Well,
professional live video person. I'm just doing this because it's the next new thing and we have software. And it's actually been huge for us to have the experience of being live in front of the camera because now we can empathize, like you said, the word empathize, more with our users because we're like, wow, yeah, like and when you're first starting out, it's stressful. And how can we make it easier for people? So, yeah, so that's huge. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your favorite Ecamm Live features are?
for me, the features that I like most, Um, well, obviously the adding additional media, the live streaming, multi-camera, the all of the switching, all of the classic switching functions, and how easy they are to access of choosing a two shot or a single shot, inserting a video, inserting a graphic, all of those are so approachable and really well thought out. But there's some of the other subtle ones that I really appreciate include how the comments get integrated. I am such a big fan of comments. and managing the comments for all of the live streams. And so the fact that they will gate the comments from YouTube Live, I'm sure they do from Facebook Live too,
Hmm.
gate the comments right into the chat right into the feed is so important. And here's why. Comments create social proof. A lot of people like to turn off comments when they're doing, say, webinars, and because they don't want people complaining or they don't want any negative aspects, or they can't concentrate on what they're doing if comments are flowing. And while I understand the concentration thing is an issue, and I respect that, if you are delivering content that you're concerned people are complaining about, then you've got bigger problems than dealing with people complaining.
Yes, for sure.
And it's such an opportunity to get people on board through the comments and the social proof that's generated through comments. When somebody says, yes, I like that, or that's a great feature, what it does is it recreates the energy you might have in a live room environment. I am a huge fan of comments, and I think that when we're doing live stream, for whenever we're trying to coerce or convince an audience in any way, shape, or form, that they are our biggest asset as we move ahead. So I love how they've integrated the comments in it. Of course, the ability to record the videos as well locally is great. And I love Ecamm tools that we use in other aspects. Like I'll use Ecamm Live recording an interview and do the screen capture, use it as a recording for pre-record and not for live. I'll use it as
Right.
a tool occasionally as a production tool as well. So they've just done so much with that as far as the flexibility goes. Here's one thing I'd like to kind of talk, because we are talking to a community of people who are doing live streams, and I want them all to think long and hard about what success looks like in a live stream. I think most of us are of the opinion that more is better, and that getting more people onto a live stream is better than having less. But I think there's a diminishing return once you hit a certain number. And this comes from my experience doing webinars, where if we have a webinar where in the room live we have between 250 and 400 people, it is rocking. It feels so good. The chat is nice and active, but it's manageable. And it just feels like a great event. As soon as I get above 400 people live, it becomes too busy. The chat becomes too cacophonous, and I can't stay on top of it. And I don't know if I'm delivering real value to the community because I can't measure and weigh the impact. When you're a speaker in a room, you feel the energy of the room. You know whether
Yeah.
you're landing or whether you're failing, and you can adjust accordingly. We have to rely on the chat for that, for live streams, for
Yeah.
any sort of live video production. We have to rely on what the engagement is. And when there's under 400 people or so in the room, you can audit that and you can get a real good feel for how well it's going. And you also have to recognize that the people who are the negative are going to be the noisiest. Anybody that's having technical issues,
Hmm.
you might have 10 people out of 400 that are having technical issues, and it'll feel like it's half the people because those 10 people will constantly be complaining and they'll be dominating the chat. So you've got to get past that kind of psychological hurdle. But once you get above that and the chat goes by so fast that you can't actually read things and you can't see it anymore and it's just too busy, I think that it loses a lot of its potential impact and its ability to really be a difference maker for us. Now, having said that, I guess maybe if you have 20,000 people in the room, that would be awesome too. But just for this type of social marketing that many of us are engaged in, that are part of this forum, I think that you really have to consider what success looks like, what the numbers look like, and judge yourself accordingly as you grow. I consider a live stream anything, once I'm north of 100 people, I'm thrilled because I'm reaching a big community and and they're really engaged. If I get above 400, I feel like I've gotten too far. I've overreached my capabilities.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I don't know much about the influencer world, so I don't want to like talk out of hand or anything, but I have heard of this thing called like micro influencers, and how in some ways when you have a smaller community, it's actually more engaged. And
Hmm.
so I think that that's a really I think they kind of go hand in hand, like with what you're saying is like having a good size community, but one that's like really really manageable and people are super engaged is like probably the best thing you can do. So not
Yeah.
worrying too much about having, a quarter million subscribers. I mean, I think that's also awesome. But if you even have, a community of 10 or 20,000 people, like that's
Oh yeah.
huge.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the that whole influencer concept is is being tested now as we go along. But we all know stories of people who have fairly small vanity metrics, but
Mm-hmm.
real impact, and that's something to strive for, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So I'm sure that some of the people who are on here who are subscribers of yours who are watching, and I'm sure you talk about this a lot, but can you share with our audience someone mentioned productivity tools. So can you mention other than Ecamm, because we already know how much you love Ecamm, but we want to share all the info. So what are some of your other sort of top productivity tools that you like to share with people?
So productivity tools. Well, I'm a big Evernote user still. Evernote's gone through some challenges as a company, but I still use Evernote a lot. It's still kind of my main tool. Um, Increasingly, the online suites. Either the Google Suite. I did a video a little while ago about alternates to the Google Suite because so many of us use Google all the time, but we have concerns about privacy around Google, of course, and what a good alternative is. And I've been using Zoho a lot of late, and I'm very impressed with the depth and the breadth of the tools that are available from Zoho. So I'm a big fan of them. From a personal productivity point of view, and I'm going to be a little self-serving here, our very first product showcase coming up, I am going to be using a tool called Mixmax for Gmail. We're going to be showcasing that. I am blown away by this CRM for Gmail and just what a good tool it is. It manages your Gmail account for you, and you work within the Gmail interface, but it allows you to see who's opened your email, who's clicked on it. It allows you to automatically schedule right within it. I can share my availability. I say, here's 4 dates that are available, and you can you can book a meeting with me instantly from it. It's a really wonderful personal productivity tool, which has a lot of CRM features built into it. So we'll be showcasing that in one of our first in our first product showcase coming up. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's kind of top of mind right now. I just got, and it's not an app, but I just got an iPad Pro. I just bought one, and I'm trying to replace my notebook for traveling, for delivering speaking gigs, and for when I'm on the road. And I think I'm going to be able to do it. I think the iPad Pro has grown to the point, especially when this new iPad OS comes out in the fall, has grown to the point that it is a notebook replacement for many of us, for many things. I mean, I don't expect that I'll be doing video editing on it, but I don't video edit on the road very much. I do some audio editing, and should be able to do that on the iPad Pro. But I'm very excited about that. I'm still kind of figuring out what my toolkit is. I don't know what note-taking app I want to use for the handwriting recognition. I've been using one for a little while, and it's going to take me a little while to decide on that. But I quite like that tool as well. So those are kind of my productivity tools. I mean, for little utilities, I'm a huge fan of Text Expander and Hazel and a few other tools. And we've got videos on all of those
I
on our
love
site.
Text Expander.
Oh,
I
I'd be
also love
lost
my
without
Text
Text Expander.
Expander report, and it tells me how much time I've saved. I don't know why. I
Yes.
just
Oh,
get so
yeah.
much joy
Yeah.
out of that. I
Just a
saved an
second. We've
hour
got
and 43 minutes. Talk about productivity.
real life's happening. What's up, Soph?
Oh,
The Cheerios, I think, are really stale because they were there before we went to the Caribou. So. They are stale, but you think they're bad. Oh no, they are. They just taste stale. You won't die from eating them. There we go. There we go. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I actually usually have my cat with us. She, for some reason, is in the other room, which is perfect. But
Oh,
a couple of videos, I've had her touch my face with her
oh
paw
yeah, walk
during the
across.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Farley's down the corner. He typically will jump up, but I don't know if you probably can't see him in the crop.
Yeah.
But yeah.
She's usually fine if she's just wandering around my desk, but sometimes she just feels the need to put her little paw on my face while I'm talking.
That's nice. Very sweet.
Very nice. Yeah, very sweet. So Text Expander. So we'll make sure that we like drop links to all these things you mentioned, and also more info on your YouTube series you have coming up and all that stuff, so people can find you and stuff like that. So very cool. So any other tips or tricks? Oh, did you want to talk at all about your setup, about any of your cool tech stuff? No pressure if you don't want to.
So my live streaming setup is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
I've got an old school mic. I have an Electro-Voice RE20, which is a kind of the classic voiceover mic for many radio stations. And I did radio for for the better part of 20 years here in Canada. And the last radio station I worked at, that I did a radio show for, they converted to headset mics. And they mothballed all of their RE20. So I asked them if I could buy one, and they gave me this one. So this RE20 that you
Stop.
see here was, I got it for free.
Oh my
So
God.
I know it was the
Lucky
best deal ever.
you.
And I've always loved the RE20. I love the bottom end of it. And I just have it going in through a mixer that is an AD converter that has like a sound gate on it, which is why I can work without headset. It's not a great mixer. What is it? It's a Behringer. I don't think it's the best one to buy. If I was buying again, I'd probably buy a Focusrite Scarlett or something along that line if I was getting another one. But it does the job for me. One thing about the Electro-Voice RE20 and many of this style of microphone is the gain on them is a little low. They're a very quiet mic. So I have something called a cloud lifter, which adds 20 decibels of clean gain in line, and it just so your mic just plugs into it, and then it plugs into your mixer or whatever your audio interface is, and it just boosts the gain on the mic, and that really helps a lot for the audio. I'm always concerned more about my audio than video. As far as videos goes, I just have this hooked up to a Logitech Brio. I've had one since they came out. I think they're really good cameras. I have got a Canon M50 that I use for vlogging, which I could set up here, and it would give me a better bokeh. It would give the background a little bit more of a blur, and that would be fairly appealing. But the hassle of using a DSLR and having to fiddle around with the DSLR for the type of video that we do here, it's not worth it to me for the most part, whereas the convenience of the Logitech Brio. And I find the Brio with the color correction with the drivers that are on the Mac is quite easy to set up. I saw that somebody commented on the post beforehand that I was a PC guy and that they congratulated the guys at Ecamm for getting me on Mac. I was never a PC guy. When we did the TV show, I did PC a lot, but I was never a PC fan. But I've always been a Mac guy. I've always had Macs at home. As far as lighting goes, I've got a couple of LED big LED lights mounted to the wall that I can turn on. I don't have them on now, just because I've got nice windows right here, and these windows face north in my house, so I never have direct sunlight coming in. The sun kind of goes over, so I've always got nice all day long. I've got nice indirect natural light, which I primarily use for most of my
Yeah, I was gonna say your lighting.
So I don't worry.
Really
I'm kind of blessed.
Yeah.
It does, and I've color corrected the Logitech Brio. Don't rely on it. Go in and do a white balance and turn off the autofocus as well, people. For God's sakes, turn off the autofocus on these things so you're not racking in and out of focus all the time as you're moving around. That drives me crazy when I see that. But I've got these nice LED lights that I can tune to the color and in the intensity. So if I want to record in the evening, I can pretty much recreate the same lighting. I didn't turn it on. I've got a backlight that washes up on the wall behind me, but it's not a very fancy setup. I've got a very basic setup. No,
but your office looks nice. I like it's simple but effective.
I built the office to be a live set because I used to do green screen work all the time for my videos where I'd be keyed over, and just the hassle of having the green screen behind me all the time. And so I stopped doing it, and I asked my channel if they liked, because the videos I thought looked a little bit better with Swisher when I'm doing a demo, having me keyed over in the bottom corner. I asked my community. They said they didn't care, or they preferred the real world. I can't tell you how much people love seeing when I'm recording my videos. Now, more for my YouTube channel. They love seeing the dog in the videos. He gets as many comments as anything.
People love dogs.
Just poked up. Yeah, people they want to have a little bit of access to you personally.
Yeah, definitely.
And so knowing where you live and knowing a little bit about yourself, even if it's a little bit not perfectly, it's sometimes a little bit messy, but it also is product placement opportunity. A good friend of mine is doing this new beard butter.
Oh, nice.
So I make sure that her stuff is in the shot. Right?
Oh, very cool. And you have a great beard, so you're the right person to do it.
That's it.
So speaking of some comments, I did want to mention a few here. So we can actually pull this right onto the screen here. So Lydia says, Dotto Tech and Ecamm, it goes together like peanut butter and jelly. Can't wait.
That's good.
I think that's great. We like your thought there.
Yeah, Lydia. I like it. Peanut butter and jelly is good. Peanut butter and honey is good too.
Yeah.
Peanut butter and banana.
Honey.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Peanut butter and banana. Actually, peanut butter and banana toast is one of my favorite breakfast go-tos.
There you go. Awesome.
Okay, so yeah, I talked about the PC. Um, let's see. Um, where do I focus my eyes? Looks like I am looking at the viewers. Um, that's a good question. I am using a DSLR, a Sony, and so I have it placed in front of um, my computer. So I'm kind of looking just over the Sony. I don't
It
know if that looks
takes a little
okay
bit
or
of
not, but
training. Here's the challenge you have is like I've got you on my screen here. So if I'm looking at you, my eyes aren't on the camera. So
right.
when you recognize that you're a broadcast, when you're doing a TV show or in studio, you have a tally light on whatever camera's live, a little light that tells you that that's the live camera. And if you're trained in media, you just you look for the light. You don't have
Oh,
that. We don't have that here
yeah.
typically. So just the discipline of recognizing when you're talking to an audience to look into the lens, to look at the camera,
Hmm.
and there'll be a little light on your camera usually that you can use for your eye line. That's probably good enough. But
Hmm.
it's you recognize that you're not being impolite by not looking at the person because they
Right.
can't tell you're not looking at them. So it's a
Right.
little bit. You kind of got to get over that. But it just becomes practice and discipline.
Okay, so Dean Reynolds said Steve is the real deal.
Thank you,
So
Dean.
yes, thank you, Dean. Um, let's see. Steve is a legend. 250,000 YouTube subscribers. Make sure to follow him everywhere, and we will make sure that there are links and stuff to all your stuff so people can follow you everywhere.
Thank you. We just
Um,
passed that milestone a couple weeks ago, so that's nice.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
wonderful. Um, and then Eric says, "Oh, I wish I could get a quarter of that many subscribers."
You can.
You can. I was just gonna say you can. So, do you have any tips on that? I mean, I think I probably have a pretty good idea because you said that you've been doing this for a long time. So I think the biggest trick is probably time and consistency. But do you have any other tips on that?
You said the biggest tip: consistency. Publish frequently. Your frequency in publishing is going to be the most important single factor. I mean, paying attention to all the other things, as you get into it, the YouTube analytics, length of video, creating videos that have good retention. If you make good video and you publish it consistently, you'll find your community. As long as you have a community that, as long as there are people that are interested in what you're talking about, you'll be able to grow a YouTube channel. It's not rocket science. It's consistent, conscientious work.
Awesome. That's great advice. So then we have Bill Vick, and he says, so I think you actually spoke on this. Why did you stop using green screen? You talked about it.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was
Go ahead.
laziness was the main motivator because I
Hmm.
just didn't like setting it up all the time and having it. But the narrative became very quickly that people like seeing me in the natural environment. And for live
Yeah.
streams and stuff, this is great. For the YouTube videos themselves, we're now playing around with a couple of different things. The next video we're going to try the circle to just kind of close me down a bit because I don't really want to set up the green screen again if I don't have to.
Right.
But it's there. And in the green screen I've got that pop-up one that's the oval. And it's like, and when it opens, it's like an explosion. And then when you wind it back up, it's like a contortionist. The
Right.
Elgato one that they've got, which is that
That's
folds
the one
up
I'm
from
using right now. It's right behind
that
me. Yeah.
looks like that's what I
It's
love.
just it's so easy. It's like you just
Yes.
pop it up and pop it back down and then put it over in your corner till you need to use it again. And speaking of the green screen, because I am using one and I wanted to explain one of the reasons why I use it is because the way my office is set up and the best setup for me is that I have a window behind me and I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be backlit. And
Yeah.
then, so I actually have a light, which is really good to use with the green screen. And then, so it's a perfect setup for me to have a green screen because like the space is kind of small and a little cramped. And then I have that window, which isn't
Yep.
ideal. And my cats like to sit in it, and it's just not the best setup. So I like having the green screen for sure.
That's good. And that Elgato, if it's quicker and easier to set up, it just means you do it more
Yeah.
cleanly and stuff.
Yeah,
That's good.
definitely.
Yeah, I'm jealous of you. But it costs about 4 times as much as those pop-up ones.
It
But
does. It does. So it's definitely an investment, but if you end up using it every week or multiple times a week, then I do think it's worth it and
yeah.
better than like renovating your home. um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So someone had asked, So Eric said, I'm not sure which part was this. I can then take them off the recording that's saved on the computer. Yeah, so just to clarify that, Ecamm Live records all your live broadcasts and saves them. So you could just go up to the recording menu and you can say, I think it's view all recordings or show recordings, and then it'll just pop up and you'll have all your recordings there. So you can edit them or use them for another video or upload them somewhere else, make them into Instagram videos, whatever you want to do with that. So that is a automatic feature of Ecamm Live. Let's see. So Sean said, finally, I've been using iPad Pro for a couple of years. And I just wanted to say, too, that my husband loves his iPad Pro and has also mentioned that he thinks it's kind of like in some ways a
What size
replacement
does he
for.
have?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think the fairly big one. Whenever he's holding it up, I'm like, aren't you tired of holding that thing up? I think he
Yeah,
has the
there's
largest one.
12.3 inch. I bought the 11 inch
Okay.
because the other one's just ridiculously big. But the
Yeah.
screen is phenomenal on it.
Yeah, he really loves it. He's in IT, so he really needs like he always has. There we are. Oh, I love it. Yeah, and he even has a little keyboard and everything. And
Yeah.
when we go on trips and stuff, he won't even take his laptop. So yeah. So all right, let me see any other comments. So Friar Wade says hello from a fellow Mac guy in Florida.
No, there's
Uh,
Friar Wade. He's a consistent follower on all our platforms.
That's awesome. Okay, and then Jordan says, "Hey Steve." And then we have some other questions and comments in there, which we'll make sure we get back to everything. Me and my team, if you have any specific questions. Cool. So, is there anything else you'd like to share while we're
No,
here?
no, that's
Okay,
good.
awesome. Okay, great. Well, I think we went through everything. Again, if you're interested in being part of this series and you would like to be interviewed, we usually want you to have been using Ecamm Live for a little while. And so just send us a message and you can, again, Facebook message us. We have like a new chat pop up, so you can chat us if you want to try that. And let us know and just tell us about what you do. And we would love to have you on. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much to Steve. It's been really awesome talking to you. I think that our viewers will get a lot out of this. So I hope you have a great day and talk to you soon. Bye, guys.